Welcome back to the 100K 2024 pre-season preview show. We are up to the Richmond Tigers. If you haven't listened to any episode yet, we are doing the same checklist for every team. We're all the way down to the Tiges. We're getting excited. Darc, how are you?
Jev, I'm really good. This is one of those teams I've been very excited to have a look at. And Tigers fans, sit down and enjoy to what we and you have to say. So let's get into it, Jev. As you did mention, the same questions as we go through, the same checklist for every team. The Tigers last year finished 13th on the ladder, 10 wins, 12 losses, and a draw, which was round one against the Blues. First question, Jev, competition A graders. How many do the Tigers have, if any? Hit me.
I've still got Dusty as a competition A-grader, Das. He's the second or third best player I've ever seen. He had an all-Australian caliber season last year, averaging 24 disposals and a goal. His season was underrated last year. Or if you know Tigers fans, they just tell you how good he was all the time. And I was at the MCG last year, Swans versus Richmond, and it started raining at halftime. And after halftime, it just felt like he won them the game off his own boot. He still got it in him. He deserves his respect. Just one competition A-grader for me, Dustin Martin. Who did you have down?
Only the one. I thought you would have had Shea Bolton in there as well, because I've got him for me as a competition A-grader. He's an absolute freak. Obviously he plays a lot of forward, but anytime he goes into the midfield, he just seems to get it and go. So his contested possessions, especially for a forward, is almost 10, which is ranked elite. His kicks are ranked elite. 4 clearances a game, and he doesn't even get half as much time as like all the others, like your Dion Prestias, your Hoppers, your Tarantos, and he still gets 7 score involvements a game and 453 meters gained. I would have Shy and Dusty as my 2 competition A-graders, Jev. I think they're both unbelievable, and if anyone reckons that Dustin Martin still isn't a competition A-grader, you're absolutely kidding yourself, and that's recency bias. His season last year was fantastic. It's just because it wasn't maybe the prime Dusty, but his season as a half forward was still like all Australian caliber. Position A-graders, who did you have?
So this is where I find Richmond so hard to judge, because how harsh I might be on him later in this pod, but Tim Taranto is an A-grade midfielder.
Yep.
Tom Lynch is an A-grade forward.
Yep.
Liam Baker's an A-grade footballer who I would take at the Swans 100 days out of 100. Jaden Short is probably an A-grade kick halfback. He's such an underrated football. And then Shai Bolton, I couldn't decide if he was a competition A-grader or not. He's such a fucking gun. He has top 5 in the comp potential at his best. When he's inconsistent, he's so frustrating. He averaged 22 disposals and had 5 elite categories last year. So you can't underrate how good this guy is. I don't want to give away too much, but we'd go to St Kilda next, and I was filling St Kilda, and I sort of had Jack Sinclair as the competition A-grade line. If someone's below Jack Sinclair, they're probably not a competition A-grader. They're a position A-grader. And if you think they're above, so this is where I'm looking at it now, I'm like, who would I rather, Shai Bolton or Jack Sinclair? At the Swans, I'd rather Shai Bolton. So maybe he is a competition A-grader, and I'm a bit harsh on him. But he was just a bit inconsistent last year, and I know some Tigers fans reckon he was shirking a couple of contests last year, drinking a bit of his own bathwater. They reckon he took a step back. He kept hearing how good he was, and he wasn't as good as he probably was. So I don't know. Who did you have down for position A-graders, Das?
Well, before we start, Shai started the season slow, but he came home like a wet sail. I just got the 2, Jev. I love that you said Liam Baker. Yes, he's an A-grade footballer. He's been shown to go forward or go back. So, but as my position A-graders, Tom Lynch, Jev, he's a machine. When he's up and running, he's a goal-kicking machine. He's a great size, an unbelievable forward. He had the game 2 years ago against the Pies where Darcy Moore didn't want to put a glove on him. And then Tom Lynch had 7 and 25. It was a genuine bathing. If you're doing that against any team, especially like against a defender like Darcy Moore, you are definitely an A-grader. And Tim Taranto, Jev, he's definitely there. I don't get all the hate, maybe because his disposal isn't the best, but I'll touch on some of his games a little bit later, Jev, but he's 100% a position A-grader. Gary Ayres medalist that season where GWS made the grand final. He's a great footballer, Jev. Tim Taranto, position A-grader.
I agree. I completely agree. While you're on fire, Dust, notable role players. Who'd you have down for notable role players?
Yeah, I didn't even want to sling out many stats for this one, Jev, but this is, I think all the role players are the veterans that are left in those premiership sides. So tell me where I'm wrong. Jaden Short, Dion Prestia, Dan Rioli, Nick Vlosten, Dylan Grimes, Baker, Nathan Broad, and Camden McIntosh. Like, they're the guys that they were a team of role players that were able to like win the flags, and then you just have like your Dusties, your Rewalt. Those guys were almost like the face of it and the Lynch, and everyone else just did their fucking job. So
Fucking oath.
every single time when I look at one of those names, I just think of those guys on grand final day, and everyone's getting between 12 to 20 touches and doing their role. Like,
100%.
That's it.
100%.
What about you?
Yeah, I wrote, this is where Richmond built and won premierships. Prestia, Hopper, Jack Graham, Jack Ross's mids, Vlosten, Grimes, Camden McIntosh, triple premiership players, Dan Rioli, Marlon Pickett, more premiership players, Morris Rioli. Like, this, like, that's when you think of Richmond, and when you talk about, you know, what you want Carlton to be this year, you talk about role players and just doing their role to win games of football. And this is all Richmond were. So, but they are a bit older. So, like, Grimes, how many more seasons he got? You know, Prestia always does a hammy. Haven't seen Tom Lynch fit in about 2 years. So, yeah, you got to worry about him, but they fucking saw the ultimate success. Young guns, depth. You go first with depth.
Yeah, so depth is almost, I've got my different young guns that we're going to go over in a minute. But usually when you look at a list, like, I feel if I look at the Blues list at the moment, like, it looks strong top to bottom, and like I pretty much know most of the players, and they're pretty stiff if they're not getting a game in the side, but then they're doing really well at VFL level. I think the Swans, you'd say the same. Collingwood, you'd say the same. And when Geelong and Hawthorn were at the peak of their powers, you got these guys that are like just missing out. But it's just their overall depth, Jeff. There's a lot of guys, Caleb Smith, Steely Green, Oliver Hayes-Brown, Ben Miller, Tyler Young, Seth Campbell, Jacob Bauer, like Sam Banks, Tyler Sonzi, obviously is a name that a lot of people would know. James Trezzy, like, there's got a lot of these guys. I'm like, I genuinely don't like know much about them. And then for me, that just means like I don't know much about their depth. So if they get a couple of injuries, like, who are these guys? I just don't know much about it. It's more about team depth. I'm not really picking off one specific position, Jev, but yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know much about them, but excited to see where the Tiges and where they fit into this side. What about you?
So this is my knock on the Tiges. I reckon they have the worst kids in the comp. I don't even think this is a hot take. I do not rate their kids coming through. And we haven't seen them. Dimmer didn't play them. But when we did see them, I wasn't impressed. I want to know which kids Tigers supporters are bullish on. Ryan Mansell? Judson Clark? Tyler Sonsi? I don't know. I reckon, I don't think it's a hot take. They have the worst kids in the comp, and they're still top old man heavy. Yes, Liam Baker and Dan Rioli are like 25, 26. Jaden Short, they're in their prime. Same with Tim Taranto. So they've got some good core players. Some of their other players, like where we just saw Cochin and Rewalt retire, you'd say Grimes and Dusty are getting closer. But they're kids. They're under 23s. Oh, geez, I don't rate them.
Well, I'm going to keep you going with this, Jev. Is there any young guns that you like? Is there any?
One. I want to talk about Josh Gibcus-Dobe.
Nice.
I worry about their key back depth, especially if they reckon Noah Bolter is playing forward. But ask Tigers supporters, they reckon this kid is an absolute gun. He had an amazing rookie season. I remember in his rookie year, they put him straight on Lance Franklin. I was fucking impressed with it. Oh, he did give him a little bit of a bath, and then we didn't see him all last year with his hammy issues. I can't wait to watch him play, see if he's still that guy. But if he doesn't come on or come through, oh God, it's worry. It's worry for me. What about you?
He's the only one I put down, Jev, 100%. As you said, he was picked 9 in the 2021 draft, 18 games in the first season, which were amazing. But then, obviously the hamstring issues all last year. Jev, I'm not trying to shit on him, but yes, when he did go to Buddy, I remember I messaged you. Buddy was so confident. It was the first time he went and actually took an overhead mark against an opponent. Like, he didn't just go the chest mark. But he's a good size, Jev. But as you did say, with Grimes getting a little bit older, you got Broad still there. I'm really excited to watch this young kid just try and get a really good run at it. You just hate injuries with these players. And when you hear about the guys that just miss out on years of footy or they just never come through because of injuries, you really want to see him. He was a top 10 pick, as we did mention, pick 9 in the 2021 draft. Hope he gets a really good crack at it.
Have you got a dark horse All-Australian, Das?
Yes, I do.
Let's go.
And his name is Tim Taranto.
Let's go.
Yet to be an All-Australian. Can he have a career best year? Even after last year, he polled 19 votes in the Brownlow, which is an unbelievable effort in the season that they had, obviously only winning the 10 games. But can he take his game to another level? Now 26, Jev, he's in the prime of his career. And why not, Tim, get a spot in that All-Australian? So I'm going to have a look back at, some people reckon there's a knock on his kicking, and then all they sometimes do is just look at the stats and the efficiency. But because so many of his touches are clearances, a lot of that goes down because he's a midfield player. He's a burst player, stoppage player. Let me just read you out the stats that he had last year, only the games he kicked a goal in. 24-1, 24-1, 23-3, 27-1, 38-1, 35-2, 36-1, 33-4, 33-1, 30-2, 30-1, 27-1.
That was like 10 games. That was nearly half the season.
So every single time, and it's amazing how much better the game looks when you can impact the scoreboard going forward. So that's what you want to see Tim doing a little bit more. Toby Green went down, or when was he at the Giants, maybe 3-4 years ago, and that first game he went forward and kicked 4 goals in the first half.
I remember that like it was
and
yesterday.
They're like, oh shit, maybe this is what he can do. And the back end of last year, he went forward a lot more and he hit the scoreboard for the Tiges. So I think that's the blueprint for him. Really tough inside stoppage. If he cleans up his kicking a little bit more and he can continue to hit the scoreboard, why not Tim for an All-Australian jacket, Jev? What about you?
Has Dusty got one more in him, you reckon?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I reckon he deserved it last year.
And is there a spot for Liam Baker on the bench? He's such a good footballer. He deserves some recognition, but the way he plays, where he's a half forward, he's a half back, he's on the wing, he's a mid, he's whatever he's got to do for the team. It's hard to nail an All-Australian spot, but I'll be super interested to see what Adam Uze does with Liam Baker, because he's an ultimate weapon, but he might go, no, you're playing this one position for the Tiges. So I'll keep you rolling, Das. The next one, coach, captain, go for it.
Yeah, Jev, I've got no idea what Adam Uze and Nankervis are going to bring. Obviously, it's a fresh new coach coming in, and there's been talks for about 4 or 5 years that Adam Uze has really put his hand up to try and get a head coaching job, and he's finally got that. But with Nankervis, we know he's a 3-time premiership player with heaps of experience. I just don't know how much more success they can get and how quickly they can turn over the page when a team, as you said before, so top-heavy with age and they've lost so many key pieces to that side, how quickly that they can turn that around and get back into that finals contention. Because the way I look at it and I look at their list and we've discussed the depth, it just looks like that it's going to be another growing, transitioning year for the Tigers. I could be wrong, but that's where I see it. And I thought that maybe they would go a little bit younger with a captain, maybe a Baker or a Short. I thought that I just love giving the reins over to someone a little bit younger. But yeah, that's where I think it's going to be a little bit more of a transitioning year for the Tigers. But yeah, we'll see what Adam Uze does, because apparently he's a bit of a guru and he's got so many ideas. So we will see. What about you?
If I was to rank Grimes and Nank amongst the best captains of the league, I'd probably have them 16th or 17th or something, to be honest. But I understand why they're captains. But with Adam Uze, I'd be excited if I was a Tigers fan. A new voice, a new way to cook the sausage, a fresh start, bring some more life back to the Tigers. But from some of our Melbourne sources, Das, they were excited to see the back of Adam Uze. They didn't rate him that much. They think they didn't even take Melbourne's best assistant coach. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, I was told Adam Uze, Melbourne were pumped to see the back of him. Like, they didn't want him in the building anymore. So they were happy he got a head coaching job. So I reckon it might be, if I want to say, if you had to guess, would it be a failure or a winner? I better not say that. He hasn't even fucking played a game yet. But it's going to be super interesting. But yeah, hopefully this is the last year. Grimes and Nank are the captains. Give it to Taranto. Give it to Baker. Give it to Short. Give it to one of these guys. The future of the Tigers. And let's see some kids come through. Das.
Yep. So the next one, the strength of schedule. So this is depending on where teams finished the year before. So number one would be the easiest ranked schedule. 18th would be the hardest. The Tiges have the sixth ranked schedule. So up towards the top end, a little bit easier, they reckon. Notable home games, Jev. What did you have written down?
So I find their schedule super hard to judge because I don't necessarily rate them so. Like I can see them starting 0-4. I'm tipping them super harshly. They get the Swans at the G round 3, so they'll like their odds. I was there last year, they beat us. So they'll like their odds in that game. They're still going to be a good team on the G, especially against teams who don't play on the G often. So they get Freo at the G. As I said, the Swans at the G. They get the Dogs at the G. So, yeah, I don't know. But I can see them starting 0-4. I didn't write who their first 4 games were, but who knows? Das, who'd you have? What did you write down for notable home games?
Well, the home games, let's go through the hard games at home. So I think the Blues, the Port aren't going to be pushovers. The Swans, the D's, the Dogs, the Bombers might be trying to clip at their feet this year. The Hawks play really well at the G. They got the Blues again, the Giants, the Pies, the Hawks again, and then the Suns. So you think they might take care of the Suns. But the only one I'm really licking my lips at is Freo. Like, if I'm being honest, like, if I'm looking at the games and looking into the future, like what games are the Tigers going to be giving the favourite by the bookies? I think it's Freo at this stage, and I don't think that there's any others that I really see them. I think they're the underdog in every single other home game this year, Jev.
Yeah, so they start at Gold Coast, not easy. Carlton, Port Adelaide, Swans, St Kilda. Like, they can easily be 0-5, maybe 4-1. But, the new coach, they're fresh on life. Who knows? But anyway, notable home games. What did you write for notable away games?
Yeah, so they travel a little bit. So they got the Suns, the West Coast Eagles, Brisbane, Geelong at Geelong, the Crows, Freo, Port, and North. So they travel pretty much to all the big interstate sides. So they do travel a little bit. And then they got North at Marvel, which I did put it as a away game because they absolutely stink it up under the lid. And Zerha will probably kick a bag of 4 or 5. But same thing. Like, when I look at the schedules, I love to see the number, and they say they got the 6th ranked schedule. And I think a lot of people might look at that, like these numbers, and be like, oh, they got an easy draw. They're going to win more games. But then when you go through it, I'm like, nah, I don't think it's an easy schedule at all, Jev. What about you?
Yeah, so tell me what game they'll start favourite, and you'd back the Tigers head-to-head. At Gold Coast round 0, at Brisbane at the Gabba, at Geelong at GMHBA, at Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, at Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, at Freo in Perth, and then at West Coast in Perth. Maybe West Coast, maybe I wouldn't even back them against Freo. So I know you don't rate Freo as highly as I do, but I find that a hard away schedule with a lot of travelling. It's funny, when the Tigers were flying, they used to play 18 games on the G, and now they're going to be shit. They're just playing away every second week. They're getting the reverse Collingwood treatment. So, yeah, I am not so bullish on the Tigers. Das, what did you have their floor of wins at?
Well, last year they won 10 games, Jev. I got their floor at 6. I think they're still better above your North Melbournes, your West Coast, your Fremantles, and they'll just find ways to win some game and steal a couple at home. Or if they're a sniff to win a game and they got a Sunday afternoon game, the Tigers fans Mano will be there with a little Bobo, wants to show him a win. You get all those fans that are still going to come to those games. I think 6 wins, Jev. I think that that's the floor. What about you?
So they won 10 last year. Do they get the new coach boost and go 10 again? Or are they trending down and looking more like a 7-8 win side? They have too many good players to win 7, but they're also so injury prone, and they've lost their leaders in Cochin and Rewald. So their floor has to be 7 for mine.
And what do you have their ceiling at?
As I said, 10 last year. I reckon if Uze is bloody Dennis Pagan, their ceiling is 11, 12, but I don't have them in my 8 at all, in my final 8 at all. So, yeah, 10, 11, 12 maybe. What about you?
Yeah, unless they've got a brand new system that just somehow shock sides within the first 8 weeks before they figure it out. I just think that they're winning 10 games again. like at their most this year. As you said, with a loss of so many like senior players, and you go through their depth, like just go through. Like if you're a Richmond supporter or you're not a Richmond supporter, you listen, like go on the AFL, like go have a look through and just have a look at some of these names, and you're like, fuck, who are they? And they might be guns.
Yeah.
They might just come in. They might just be like, have that injection of youth and like they just play with freedom. But I don't know. Every time I look at it, it's going to be a tough league, Jev. So
Fucking oath.
I think 10 wins. What do you have the over-under at?
8.5.
That's exactly what I had.
Maybe 9.5, but yeah, 8.5, I reckon.
I think a game and a half under last year is the line for the Tiges.
For sure. Have you got a hot take on the Richmond Tigers, Das?
Yeah, I think Dusty's going to win the best and fairest at the Tiges, and I think he's going to run away with it. He's going to show the team and show the competition why he's still one of the best players in the comp. He's gone through a full preseason. They mention if you're on the we're on a couple of Tigers page, and they mention him, but he's still been out of the spotlight a little bit. It's like he just peaked, and now he's just like, I'll just do my thing. He's going to come out, Jev, and I still think he's going to have a great season. We versed him round one last year. Then he kicked the first 1 or 2 goals, and you're like, fuck, is this guy ever going to stop? He's still going to bully some sides. But I reckon, yeah, he's going to win the best and fairest, and this could be his last real big red-hot season for the Tigers. So enjoy it, Tigers fans. What about you?
Tell you what he's going to look like this year. He's going to look like when Tom Hawkins goes back to local football and plays full forward.
Yeah.
Like, Dusty's just that old, experienced, big-bodied bloke who, if he's got the wrong matchup, he's just going to kick snags this year. He'll make it look like local football sometimes on the G. My hot take, Das, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think West Coast will win a final before Richmond.
Yes.
They're stuck in football's no-man land. They have the worst kids in the league. They don't have an young A-grade superstar like a Dacos, a Goulden, a Butters, an Ashcroft, a Sheasel. They don't have any of these young A-grade like potential superstars. And then their old guys only really have 1-2 years left. I reckon they're looking at 3 to 4 years in absolute no man's land, Das.
Hard to agree with. You copped it a lot at the start for that one. Everyone's like, West Coast are an absolute tire fire, an absolute garbage lot. But yeah, Jev, the way that they're trending, West Coast eventually have to get better and have to get off the bottom, don't they?
Yeah, if you were like, if West Coast and Richmond were in front of you and it's like a schoolyard pick and you're building a team for the next 10 years, are you taking Harley Reid with pick 1?
I can pick anyone.
Pick
from both
anyone,
sides.
West Coast and Richmond.
Well, it's 10 years. Yeah, you'd have to. Oh, just off the talk.
Or are you still going with like, are you taking Taranto because he's probably, or Shy Bolton sort of thing? It's a hard question, but I'm going to stick with this take that West Coast they'll be horrible this year, West Coast, and they'll still go past Richmond and win a final first.
I love it. So if you were to take the over-under on wins for the Tiges at 8.5, off the top of your head?
We can't keep going overs. I have to go under. I have to.
I agree. I think it's going to be a regression season for the Tiges.
One Dusty, one Grimes, and a Tom Lynch injury away again from, just winning 8 games.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going under.
I agree. They're going under. That is the Richmond Tigers, Das. Good. Up next, St Kilda Saints, who I can't wait to hear your opinion on. I was hard on the Saints last year.
But they look like they could be a team this year, Jev. We will see.
Good work, bud. Yeah.
Be big.